Hi everyone, it's Saturday, the 25th of August 2020. I want to welcome you to the Happy Healthy Home series. And our discussion for today is about the grooming of boys. And we're asking the question that intentionally grooming of boys to become real men, is it a need of the hour? With us today are two experts on the subject, and I'd like to introduce them before we begin. We have Mrs. Ethel A. Mafo, who is a CIMG award-winning social entrepreneur, an advocate for raising boys' rights to discover their divine purpose, to live with integrity, and to make life safer for future women and children. She is a wife, mother of 3 daughters, and the founder of Junior Shapers Africa, Salon Cuties, and All Moms in Leadership. Ethel is a trailblazer and a change maker who is offering timely solutions and mentoring avenues for young boys, mothers, and girls in our society via human capacity development, social interventions, and SDG initiatives. And Ethel, you're warmly welcome. On the other hand, we have Dr. John Atram joining us today for this discussion. And I would like to read his profile as well as we begin. Dr. John Oforia Atram was born and raised in Cape Coast. He attended St. Augustine's College in Cape Coast for his high school education. He obtained his BA degree from the University of Cape Coast. He did a Master of Education degree in Counseling Psychology at Cambridge College in Cambridge, Massachusetts in the US. He studied for his PhD in Human Sciences with a specialization in Counseling Studies at the School of Social and Behavioral Sciences in Capella University in Minneapolis, Minnesota in the USA. Dr. Atram is a licensed mental health counselor with the state of Massachusetts, USA. Having worked as a clinical psychologist in 2 community counseling clinics for 10 years in the US. He has written several articles in counseling psychotherapy, and he's the author of Too Scared of Tomorrow, a clinical book that addresses fear as the basis of most psychological issues. He holds membership with various professional bodies, including American Psychological Association and Ghana Psychological Council. Presently, he's a lecturer and a counselor at the Department of Guidance and Counseling, University of Cape Coast. He's also married with 3 children. Please help me welcome our panelists for today, Mrs. Ethel Mafo and Dr. John Oforia Atram. You're welcome, our experts for today. Back your comments. I'd like you to type in your feedback, your comments, your questions, your contributions to make this encounter rich. God bless you all once again for coming. Okay, so I'd like to start by asking a question. When we look at the theme for the discussion, it says intentionally grooming boys to become real men, a need of the hour. First, I would like to hear from Dr. Trump. Who is a real man in your opinion? And what makes a boy different from a real man in that sense? Yes, sir.
Okay. A real man is the real deal because a real man is a substance. It's a substance of the world. Everything about a real man is substantial because he's supposed to rule, he's supposed to lead. So a real man, in my opinion, is a who takes care of his wife and children. He takes care of his parents. He takes care of other people that possible he care and love to other people. Every man in psychology is highly non-judgmental. He does not judge because he's very wise. Every man is humble. He protects others. He exudes awareness and in life. Every man takes responsibility for every action and decision that he takes, and he produces strategy to achieve success in every way. So that is why I sum it up and say, a real man is the real deal.
Wow, a real man is the real deal. And Auntie Ethel, what have you got to add to that?
Yes, I think Dr. Trump is so right about a real man being the real deal. Yes, I agree to most of the things he has said. What I would also like to say to buttress it is a real man is not afraid to show his vulnerability. If I say that a real man is not afraid to ask for help, he's not afraid to show emotion. In our part of the world, we have this perception that real men don't cry, real men don't show emotion, but a real man is not afraid to show his vulnerability. You even show your strength if you are able to make yourself vulnerable. If your children can see you in a vulnerable state, you are not always pretending that you are the strong man around the place. So a real man is somebody who can ask for help when he needs it. In my also definition of a real man is one who is not intimidated by the talents and gifts of others. He sees them as people that he can synergize with so that they can come up with something positive to help society. Real men respect women. In fact, they respect everybody, and it transcends to women and children. A real man is somebody who is dependable. You can trust him. His word is his bond. He doesn't say A and does B. So integrity is his hallmark. Dr. Trump has said most of the things I also had to say, so I don't want to repeat, but I also like to also add that a real man is one with genuine self-confidence. It's not like he's making it up, pretending to be confident, but he's genuinely confident, and he's also has self-love and self-appreciation. If a man really loves himself and appreciates himself, and a man is grounded in God's love, he loves others also naturally. So a real man is someone who appreciates his skills, appreciates himself, loves himself, has genuine confidence. Yes, that's what I can add.
That's very interesting. Are we not trying to create a perfect man in this sense?
Well, nobody can be perfect. It's only God who is a perfect man. But some of the things we are talking about, they are you can acquire them through parenting. You understand? Nobody, like, I can't have a saying, we don't have perfect children, but some of the things that we want in a real man, if parents understand that it's important, we can imbibe it in our children from an early age.
Okay, I won't jump the card. Ratram, we'd like you to adjust your camera a bit so that we can see your face better. And
you see my face now?
Yes. There's something cutting across the camera. There's a cable or something. I don't know if you can.
I think it's the earpiece.
Yes. That thing.
Okay.
That thing. You've pulled it away now. Okay, so
it's okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. It brings us to my next question, actually, which is that, are we saying that some men are failing the society significantly? considering the topic for discussion.
Yeah.
We are saying that is there a need? Is this a need of the hour? What do you think, Dr. Trump, being a man on the team?
Yeah. Yes. From what we have said so far, it means to become a real man, there should be grounds for preparation. Preparation. We will talk about this preparation in a certain sense later on, but it is a preparatory ground for boys to be turned into men and to have certain characteristics to help society. And it basically involves men serving as role models, exhibiting certain behaviors that boys can learn to become real men. So society cannot go on well if there are no real men. Society is filled by men who are not real. So in that sense, they cannot train real men, boys to become real men. There is this psychological theme, we call it intergenerational transmission. Every generation has to transmit a certain behavior or a kind of culture in society for society to follow. That is, it helps in the socio-economic specter of that kind of society. You see, but right now, for example, society is basically living a way that social media dictates. And where is it coming from? It is coming not from the boys, but it is coming from the men who are supposed to bring about real men. So real men are failing in their own role as role models for boys. And these boys are supposed to be our future leaders. They are supposed to be our future husbands. And they are supposed also to be our future role models for the other generation. In this way, society is plagued with a lot of social problems if men are not producing real men from boys. You see, for example, if we say future leaders, and we continue to talk about corruption, nepotism, and all those kind of words, where are these coming from? Every bad behavior, every behavior, good or bad, is learned. And it is learned by a boy from an older person. So if the older person does not serve as a good role model, what the boy learns is what he's going to give to society. In the long run, the boy who is entering the largest stream will suffer. But where is this suffering coming from? It is coming from the men from whom they learn those bad behaviors. If marriage is threatened in our society right now, it is as a result that we are not producing good husbands. We are not producing real men to be good husbands. You see, and if we want role models to serve as people that can direct our society, and it is not being given, our society is not being given this role modeling by men, definitely the incoming men will also exhibit bad behavior. You see, when God said in the Bible, Genesis chapter 3, verse 24, he said it on a certain basis. God was talking to future men. Because in verse 23, he had produced Eve, a very beautiful woman, and has shown her to Adam. He saw the lustfulness in Adam's eyes. So he was trying to tell Adam that this is not what I produced this woman for you to do with. And since you have shown that you are not capable of handling this woman the way that I brought her to be, I am saying this to you. And in verse 24, the Bible tells us, so therefore, a man shall leave his parents and cling to his wife, and the two shall become one. The meaning is that hitherto, the man was not well groomed in his parents' house. So he is not capable to leave them and go and take a woman. So it's just like an apprentice who hasn't learned the job well from his master and feels that he can do the work and he leaves the master. He goes, then society will be in trouble. If he's a mechanic, there will be road accidents. If he's a caterer, he's going to give poison to society. So if society is failing in any way, it is as a result, of people not learning their apprenticeship well, not gaining the functional skills to be able to help society the way society should go. So the example of Adam and Eve is such that if you are leaving your parents to go outside, the purpose of which is to marry, and you haven't studied marital skills, divorce will come, separation will come, fatherless children will come. Society will be plagued with all ills. So actually, some men are failing our society because some of these men themselves were not well groomed. So they don't have the skills to groom their own children. And their children will not have the skills to groom their children. And it goes on like that. And society, which is supposed to be so dynamic, becomes a standstill.
Wow, that's interesting because
No.
This is very interesting because a good friend of mine, she's actually on the program now. She said that it's interesting how men want to be treated as kings, but they were not raised as princes. And so, how do you expect to be treated like, as a king in your marital home when your parents didn't raise you as a prince? We're just discussing whether society is being failed by some men or not. I want to find out, should we groom boys differently from girls? Because some people don't think that this is an issue. That why should we talk about boys and then not talk about girls? Is it important for us to groom boys and girls differently, and why? Antieto, you can go.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, you can go, Dr. Trump. You started talking.
Okay, Dr. Trump, please go back to you.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies first.
Okay, ladies first. Go ahead.
Yes. So, first of all, they are all human beings. You see, this is the mistake we have been making in the past, whereby some roles we have stereotyped some roles. Kitchen is for girls, and then football is for boys. No, they are all human beings. They all need life skills to survive. Assuming your son leaves home and goes to the college outside the country, there's no house help there. There's no washer there or anybody to do his laundry. He has to survive. So you have to teach your children, whether boys or girls, you have to teach them life skills so that they can survive as human beings, first of all. And so there shouldn't be any separate training for boys or separate training for girls. But there are some emphasis that you can lay. For instance, if it's a girl, how to keep her body, how to preserve her dignity, how to dress up well, yes. Same goes for boys as well, but he must also be taught his barrier with women, how to respect the body of a woman, how to value a woman. These are things that must be deliberately and intentionally taught. We must orient our boys to value the body of a woman. So when it comes to training, they are all human beings. They all must be taught life skills so they can survive in this world. Yes, but there are some emphasis that must be laid on when it comes to respecting the fellow human being that is the opposite sex. So you are not entitled to a woman's body. You don't just touch a woman because you are a man, and that's the next woman, any woman available, or any woman who works with you, or any woman you have access to, you have dominion over her. No, these are things that we must teach our boys at a very early age. Yeah. So
Okay.
This is what I can say about it.
Thank you, Dr. Trump. Somebody says that, but we need to still teach both boys and girls, their roles, respective roles in the home. What do you have to say about that?
Yes, boys have their roles in the home, and girls have their roles in the home. Just as Mrs. Mafu just said, it's two roles. It's the role. Parents will take time to make both their children, girls and boys. You are both my children. Just as Mrs. Mafu stated, we put more emphasis on the development of the girl child more than boys. There was a program recently that's a girl child education, and then there's another psychological subject that emphasizes the teaching of girls science, maths. It goes into the head, you see. But if we are to teach girls and boys their different rules, then it means when we are training girls to learn science, we should also teach them to know why they should learn science at this time. If we are training them to be very good in medicine, we should know why we are telling them to learn medicine. So boys need to be empowered, supported, and celebrated like girls. You see, sometimes the girl is given more due honor in the home than the boys. But this is a different topic that if you bring up, it's going to be another debate.
All right.
But what I want to say right here is that neurologically, hello?
Yes, please
Yeah.
continue, sir.
There are some technical things coming on my screen. There are some things coming on my screen. You see, neurologically, boys require more empathic support than girls because the neurological status of boys puts a lot of pressure on them. And it is important for society, particularly parents, teachers, other educators, to understand this and give them more empathy. And they should make them benefit more from the kind of attention and care that society is not giving them.
Wow.
Like we have already stated, that there is a mentality that boys don't cry. We need to remove that. You see, we need to remove that mentality because it has often dominated our culture and it is hurting our boys. When it so happens, boys tend to act differently from the way they need to act. You see, because like Mrs. Mafu said earlier on, boys, real men are supposed to be self-confident and they must be genuine in everything they do. If you are telling them now that boys don't cry and they don't cry when even when they should cry, it means they are not being genuine. They are not congruent with themselves. And it will not help them to act the way they are born to behave. You know, there are certain biological organs in men, in females that are not in men. So when grooming boys and girls, these biological organs must be considered. But the roles can remain the same and remove certain cultures that are inhibiting the development of boys.
Wow. Which means that there are certain toxic aspects of our culture that impact boys negatively. I want to talk about, let's come to the home.
Yes.
How can we raise our boys to understand that they are supposed to lead, they are supposed to be role models, they must take up responsibilities, because we know that, okay, I've actually read somewhere that there are 4 pillars of manhood. The first is honor and service. The second is responsibility, taking up responsibility. The third is about courage. And the fourth is about action. Okay, a willingness to take action. So I want to find out the issue of responsibility. I know that what separates boys from men is that men have a responsibility. Now, what are some things we need to do in our homes to prepare boys that they are leaders and one day they have to take some responsibilities?
Okay. Like we said earlier on, becoming a man is a preparatory ground for a man. If you are going to be a real man, there should be a preparatory ground for men. What is happening is that some parents are not playing their roles assigned to them by God.
Mm.
Fathers must model the use of the functional tools for their children. Because remove fathers and mothers from the way and they are orphans. So the role of mother and father will go into somewhere that will be structured in a way that is artificial. You see, so mothers and fathers must play their roles. They have been designed for them to play the roles. They have to teach boys positive regard for other people.
Mm.
They should know that there are other people living around them. So they should have positive and unconditional regard for other people.
How do we do
Boys
that? How
should
do
be
we
taught
teach them?
empathy.
So how do we teach them that precisely?
Yes, by modeling them in the home. By modeling them in the home. And for example, positive regard is not taught at school. It is taught in the home and the environment, the way we interact with each other. You see, there are parents, let me cite this example. There are parents who teach their children to look down upon other children.
Mm.
So, if you want your child to learn unconditional positive regard for another person, then you should abhor that. You should prevent this behavior and make sure that you are exhibiting behaviors that would lead to positive regard for other people.
Wow.
Like someone brings home his friends and then the mother will call him into the room and say, who is this one? You don't have to bring him to our house. He's not of the same status as ours. So if you are teaching a child like that, you are teaching him to look down on other people. But everybody is the same. You should leave this to the child to grow up to recognize who to deal with and who not to deal with. Also, in the same vein, we have to teach our children, our boys, empathy. The way parents go about understanding the other person. I have seen boys saying that, as for my mother, he has pity for people who don't have. I've seen boys who say that my mother understands people's problems. Why not other children saying that? It means if a child has not recognized this, does not recognize this situation, it means it is not being exhibited in the home.
Mm.
And the home, you would also remember that you are living in. When you go to school, you'll be able to show the same thing you have done at home. I have counseled many students who refuse their roommates because they feel they cannot live in the same room with them. I've counseled students who find it difficult to interact with other people. It means they don't regard the other people. So positive regard, empathy is very important and it can be taught in the home. That is why people have to associate with religious bodies like churches and so on and so forth. At a certain point in the service, you see everybody hugging the other person, giving them the sign of peace and so on and so forth. Because we know that by understanding positive regard, we are fighting for the world to be peaceful. Parents should also teach their boys how to manage finances, sitting down with them on the dining table and showing them how to do budget and savings.
Wow.
Parents should teach their children resilience. They should say it in the layman's language. Okay, see, when you fall down in any situation, try to get up. Try to get up. So, falling down is not only about physical falling down. Mentally, when things go wrong, when you go to school and you don't do well this semester, you will get up and then learn to become a better person the next semester. So parents should teach resilience, not putting their children down. Rather, show them that today you didn't do well, tomorrow you will do better. Parents should also teach problem-solving skills in the home, so that one brings about an open society. When there's a problem, the way to solve a problem is what makes a society open. It's what makes the church open. It's what makes the family open. Because problem solving involves one, brainstorming with others, and coming out with a problem, and the others teaching them certain options to overcome that problem, and trying those options that have been given. And then, if the problem is solved, fine. If it doesn't solve, there were other people who gave other options. You go and test the other options. That's problem solving skills. So parents should teach their children problem solving skills in the home. They should also teach them decision making skills. And that is about choice making. If you choose A and it is bad, parents should teach them why A is bad, but rather B is right. Parents should allow their children to be in competitions, not unhealthy competitions, but very healthy competition. Like playing football, by engaging in games, and so on and so forth. And care must be taken in this area so that they don't become over competitive. And then another thing they should teach their children must be to teach them responsibility. Practically teaching them responsibility. Because you are responsible for this. Take care of this. You can just even nurse some seedlings, like you can nurse tomato seedlings in your garden and call Kwesi. Kwesi, this you are responsible for this seedling. Kwesi, every morning you need to water it and show that you come and eat it and so on. That is the beginning of responsibility. The child knows that the well-being of that seedling is his, so he'll be responsible for it.
Wow.
I have seen children running straight to the family garden to water their plants.
That's interesting.
And in no time, the tomatoes will start bearing fruits. I've seen a child crying that, oh, what happened to my tomato plant? Ma, somebody has spoiled my tomato plant, and he will cry because he will be thinking that he has failed in his responsibility. So responsibility must be taught in the house. So that as soon as he leaves home and he goes to school and is given any leadership role, he can handle it. In this way, we are preparing boys to become good husbands. We are preparing them to understand the word authority. We are teaching them to understand control. We are teaching them to understand power. We are teaching them to become family heads, which is the great commission God has designed for men.
Wow. Indeed, I have a friend who actually has
in a certain
dog.
way,
I have a friend who has a dog, and he thinks that in learning how to take care of his dog, he's preparing himself for marriage. And it's interesting how he's so concerned about feeding the dog,
Yes.
walking the dog.
He takes care.
And yes, and he said to me,
Uh-huh.
somebody taught him that,
Yes.
and that is responsibility, like you're saying.
Exactly.
But I'd like to go to Auntie Ethel to find out.
Yeah. And
To
parents, you also. Okay, go ahead.
I'll come back to Dr. Tram. I want to find out, at what age should we start grooming boys then?
Go ahead.
Should we wait for them to be teenagers, or we should start doing that a bit early? What can you say?
Yes, okay. So just as the child starts speaking, you start communicating with your child. He starts saying words to you. You start chatting at a very young age, 2, 3, because that children who have been so exposed very early, so more, but somebody's child knows too much, and so they could be feeding your child with all sorts of things that are not correct. So you need to start engaging your child, first of all, by just being honest even about his body parts. Some parents will hide the name of the body part. They can't tell their child that this is vaginas, this is penis. They cannot even mention it. But at a very early age, when he starts touching those places, you should show him what the name of those parts are. At a very early age, you should tell him which parts of his body are a no-go area, so he doesn't get abused at a very early age because he's ignorant. So, and at a very early age, you can introduce these responsibilities that Dr. Atram is talking about in little doses, okay? So in the morning, you call him, it starts with himself. Try and wear your socks, buckle your shoe, where is your shirt, get your shirt. Like, let him be responsible for himself first. Then with time, as he grows, you give him other responsibilities in the house. So it must start once you start communicating with them. Once they can pick a spoon and eat, they should start taking responsibility for themselves, little by little. So yeah, this is what I can say about starting, and when to groom the children. Yes.
Okay, so that's interesting. The responsibility starts right away. But we know that in some of our Ghanaian homes, we treat them,
Yes.
the boys, like untouchables. They just grow, they are just in the house, they just grow. Parents don't really care about all these things we are talking about. So what are you telling us about how helping them to understand that responsibility comes with accountability? Because you are going to be responsible for something and you have to be held accountable. In fact, I think that is one of the reasons why our society is what it is. We are not holding ourselves accountable for responsibilities that we have given ourselves. But how can the boys that we are raising be different? And
So
you go
first of
first.
all, yes. So first of all, you see, a child born into this world knows nothing. It's the quality of the parent that determines the outcome of the child, honestly. So parents must keep learning. You have to self-teach, you have to attend seminars, you have to read online to equip yourself as to how to bring up this child well. In our dispensation or in our time, there's so much material to read on how to become a great parent. Nobody has the perfect formula for parenting, but if you follow the teachings of God, they said if you train up a child in the way of the Lord, he will surely not depart from it. So start teaching him certain values, integrity, responsibility, diligence, discipline. But the thing is, you, the parent, do you have it? Because children don't do what they don't follow what we say. Oh, Kabna, go and read. Kabna, go and do this, go and do that. They follow what we do. Okay, so we parents must work on ourselves. It behoves on us parents to work on ourselves. So you the parent must be disciplined if you want to see your son being disciplined. So you the father must be a man of integrity. Your word must be your bond. You promised your son you were going to do A, B, C, D for him. You couldn't do it. Your son comes asking you and you just give him some cheeky answer. Oh, is it by force? Oh, if I say I'll do something for you, why are you harassing me? No, you promised him. So give him a good reason why you couldn't do it. Let's start respecting our children. Let's respect that they are also human beings, so that they can in turn respect their fellow colleagues, their fellow workers, their wives. Okay, so it's something that African parents lack. It's like children are children. Just tell them off and we are fine. So let's learn to respect our children. If we want to see leaders in authority who respect their how do I say it, their constituents, yes, the citizens, we must teach it at home. A parent must show respect in your language. You mustn't be seen to be insulting other people to the hearing of your children. So someone comes to your home, as soon as the person leaves, you are insulting the person in the presence of your children. They are hearing it. So these are little bad examples that we set, that the children have seen it all. They watched us doing it. And so naturally, I mean, it's like you saw your father being, how do I say it, being an adulterer. So, I mean, you in your mind, you didn't like what your dad was doing, but that's all you saw of your dad, or your dad was a drunkard. That's all you saw of your dad. If you don't work on yourself deliberately, you will be a drunkard too, because that's what you used to see, So it behoves on parents to live an exemplary life so that our children can follow. So the bulk of the work, Dr. Gazy, is by us parents. We must set the pace. We must be the trailblazers for our children to follow. And so if we are not something, don't force it on your child. Let's say that you were not good in math in school. Your son is not good in math currently in school. Instead of seeing yourself in that child, because it happens to me a lot. I wasn't good in math growing up, and my daughter has that problem. So whenever she's struggling, I just put myself in her shoes. And so I had to break, last time I just had to break the truth to her that, it was my problem too. I suffered. I just didn't get it. Why I never understood math, so why I couldn't grasp it so easily. But I think that with you, I can get you teachers and I can get you some support on the internet, and she felt so encouraged because I could empathize with her. But here is the case: a child tells his father, "I'm struggling with this." Even sometimes even the opportunity is not there for a child to even communicate with the father his challenges, because he has this aura around him. A child cannot tell what he's going through.
Aura.
Yes, but the child manages to tell you what he's going through. Maybe somebody is bullying him at school, and all a father can say is, "Be a man, be a man, be a man. Aren't you a man? Oh, be a man. Why do you let that small girl insult you? Be a man." You have killed that child with that "be a man" statement. What is be a man? He has emotions. He's going through bullying. Bullying is not acceptable. Nobody should be bullied. So you encourage him and tell him that next time report to your teacher, or next time tell the child you are not going to accept this bullying anymore. Speak out. You tell your child, you train your child to speak out. Instead of saying all that, you say be a man. So this child keeps it in him. Everywhere he goes, he's supposed to be a man and keep quiet when he's being hurt. So his wife hurt him. He can't talk. He's being a man. Men go through a lot of things because of being a man, So it behoves on us parents, to guide our children so they can speak up for themselves. They can have an opinion as young children, not to be rude, but to have a say in the house, yes, because all that builds a complete man, So those men who are not allowed to speak up about their issues at an early age are the men who burst out in a very aggressive and harsh way. I mean, you hear that a man stabbed his wife, in the middle of the night, or he beat his wife mercilessly. He's been holding that resentment and that hurt and that bitterness. He doesn't communicate when he's hurt. When someone does something, his wife does something, he doesn't communicate. So he's been nurturing that hurt for a long time. So the best way to let it out is to show violence or abuse. So these are the little things that we can teach our children, so that we can have men who will lead with compassion and who will lead with love. Thank you.
Wow, that's very interesting. I've also learned something that actually a lot of us are brought up in homes where we have accepted and loved based on conditions. If you do this, then I love you. If you don't do this, I don't love you. So that conditional love makes a lot of us and our boys grow up with that conditional love, and then they also take it into their relationships. So for instance, in the home, he's not able to love his wife because he's expecting his wife to please him, do meet his conditions before he can love him. And that conditional love also, like you said, I'm picking up from what you said, that because you don't respect the children, and every boy respect needs, everybody, yes, we need to respect ourselves, we need to respect all the children, but we need to understand that neglecting them and think that they'll grow and rubbishing all that they say actually makes them feel disrespected. And it's the same way they'll disrespect every other person because they can't even love their own selves, they can't even respect their own selves, and they can't give it to anybody.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that point is very relevant. But I'd like to find out, Dr. Trump. So here's a situation where the child doesn't have a father. It's a single mother taking care of this child. Who models that authority responsibility that a man leads in the home? Because we've already established that the children learn from their parents. And Anteto, you read something that said that toxic masculinity is not the problem. The problem is actually that a lot of the boys are being exposed to feminine environment and all that. So what should we do in the situation where it's a single mother, or the child is in an orphan, is in an institution, lives in an environment where fathers are not emotionally available? How can we help such children? Because this is also key.
Yes, yeah, it's very important. That is why I have a well-researched book I wrote in the United States. It is called Too Scared of Tomorrow, a clinical approach to understand fear.
Dr. You have the floor. Are we experiencing some technical challenges? Hello, Dr. Anteta, do you want to start answering that question?
Yes, please.
Sure.
So for instance, with moms who are dealing with having to take care of boys or raise boys all by themselves, you know that you cannot do it all by yourself. You cannot be all to your son. There's a part that you, a mother, can play. Let me tell you the part you, a mother, can play. You, a mother, are the first woman a boy will see on coming to this world. So you are supposed to model a woman that your son will respect. You are not ambitious. You are somebody that you're lazy. You are not a diligent woman. You are loose in terms of your morality. You don't even carry yourself well around the house. You are half naked most of the time in the house. Your son will not respect women because he didn't see that kind of a complete woman in you. Yes, you are his mother, but you'll see all women like he'll kind of picture all women to be like you. So if he sees that woman who has been well brought up from a good home, well educated, knows what she's about, has a vision, has purpose, knows where she's going, she feels that woman is is overwhelming. You know, he cannot live comfortably with that woman because that is not what he has seen in his home. So you, the mother, the role that you play is to model that gracious woman, that Proverbs 31 woman to your son, so that your son can respect other women. Now, if you don't have a man in your life currently, which is happening right now in several homes, you have to find a pastor or a church leader or an uncle that you trust who has exemplary qualities that you want your son to follow, to mentor your son. Sometimes it's even hard for mothers to find these men around. So that's where my organization, Junior Shapers Africa, comes in. So we have men that we have interrogated, we have kind of investigated their background. They also have sons, they are in homes, they are also with their families. And these are the men who coach our boys at our sessions. So if you are not finding that uncle that you can trust, that pastor, that figurehead in your family that you can trust, you can also and trust organizations like mine, Junior Shapers Africa. We've been doing this 5 years. We take care of boys who are orphaned, boys who are in slum communities, and boys who have single mothers parenting them. Because there comes a time you cannot answer all the questions of your son, and you cannot understand all the feelings that your son is going through. If it's a girl, it's easier because you've been a woman before. But if it's a man, it's a boy growing up, especially when they are getting into their teens, it's very turbulent, you know. So you need support from a man who has seen it all, a man who is a role model, you know. So Dr. Gazy, this is what I can advise when it comes to boys who have no father or devoted fathers in their lives. This is how the women around them can mobilize so that they can get the proper mentorship and training that they need to become total men.
Wow, so we cannot take it for granted that they'll be okay, they'll grow, they'll be okay.
No, it's not magic. A lot of work goes into it, you know. A lot of work goes into it. A boy must be grounded in his values. That's what we teach at Junior Shapers Africa. Values is values. Your values are everything, you know. It's your standard, you know. So a boy must be taught to appreciate what values are, you know. A boy must be taught to appreciate what it means to set goals and achieve them. A boy must have financial goals, spiritual goals, academic goals, equally as girls, you know. So you must be deliberate about raising our boys, because you see, we've empowered our girls so much. After Beijing, you know, we saw an uprise of female leadership. I mean, we've seen the benefit of Beijing, but what we not realized is that there's some stagnation when it comes to how far women can rise. We're still not broken the glass ceiling yet, because men were not prepared to kind of handle the empowered woman. So you find that a woman can go as high as she can, but there are these attitudes of men that pull women back. Sometimes a woman is due for promotion, but they'll rather prefer a man. So the society makes it difficult for a woman to kind of break that glass ceiling completely. So we need to orient our boys. For instance, if you have a boy and a girl, sometimes allow your daughter to lead in certain chores or in certain assignments that you give. Let your son know that it's okay for a lady to lead him, because we've groomed women and empowered women, and in no time we'll have institutions that have female heads, and your son has to work under these females. So if you've not groomed your child to appreciate an educated woman, a woman who is empowered, your son will always have problems at work. Your son will always have problems at work. He cannot keep a job. Yes. So these things are deliberate. They must be intentional. These grooming must be intentional so that society can have
Wow.
I mean, better fathers, better husbands, and some men.
Wow. I think for me, what scares me is the fact that we are saying that these things are transmitted from one generation to another generation.
Yes, it is.
Which
Of course,
means
I
that,
mean, if yeah, sorry.
yeah, which means that we really have to look at the kind of men in our families and see how we can break that generational cycle. Hello? Hello?
Are married and they are not confident about the men in their lives to groom their sons. And so they don't actually depend on their husbands. It's unfortunate. They don't depend on their husbands already available. Even when the child does something bad and the wife says, oh, talk to Pabna. He's displaying some attitude I don't understand lately. Talk to Pabna. He'll say, oh, leave him alone. He will grow. He will grow out of it. So it's so disheartening when a woman sees a behavior problem or a challenge, and she tells a man, and the man doesn't take it seriously, takes it lightly. Oh, don't worry, his boys are boys. Allow him to be. It's really killing some mothers, you know. So when it happens like that, the women find alternative grooming opportunities for their sons, and that's what I will encourage women to do. If you are not having that role model in your home, don't wait till things get so bad, you know, because like I said, it's better to build boys than broken men. Invest in your boy, whatever it takes. Invest in your boy.
Wow. Thank you very much. Dr. Trump, is Dr. Trump with us? Has Dr. Trump be able to join us? Okay. So I'd like to actually find out how we define the role of men and boys, actually the role of boys, or let's say that, let me put it another way. I want to find out what is the impact of corporal punishment on boys, because harsh treatment also has a way of damaging them for the future. So what can we say about the way children are disciplined at home, and especially boys? Should we give them some concession?
Okay, so I mean, the Bible says, spare the rod and spoil the child. You spare the rod, you spoil the child. So the rod system in our current dispensation does not work that well. When your child is small, toddler, yes, you can give him a few strokes, you know, he'll cry and get out of it, you know. But you see, as your child is growing, you have to alter the approach. So there comes dialogue. And in fact, we parents must kind of understand why a child committed that or a child behaved so badly. Could it be that he's watching too much TV? Could you be a part of it? Maybe you allow them to watch too much TV, some channels that have violence, and so the slightest thing, your child is angered and beats his siblings. So when something happens, I think we should not just jump into disciplining your child right there and then. Calm down. There's a young boy on Facebook currently who has been famous for saying, "Mommy, calm down." I don't know if you've seen it yet. Calm down as a parent and try to put yourself in the child's shoes. Find out what could have caused this. If you're not getting answers, it behoves on you, the parent, to have a chat with your son. But if you are not calm, you cannot achieve this. But the typical African parent, the first thing is to react. You know, you abandon or hate, you know. But with that, you harden your child. I mean, he's expecting, he knows you are so, how do I say it, predictable. He knows you will beat him. You know, you are so predictable. So he's fearless. Especially boys, they'll show you that, I mean, what you're coming to do, I'm already used to it. But if you are able to sit your son down and dialogue with your son and find out and see through it and try to kind of counsel him, okay? So today's children, they are already exposed to so much, you know, so corporal punishment is not truly the answer. Maybe Dr. Trump can give his opinion, his contribution, but for me, I think corporal punishment is not really the answer. There are so many distractions. In our time, we didn't have such distractions. Just look at the boys who recently vandalized school property. in their school because they said they were expecting some exam questions, and so the exam questions didn't come. They were disappointed, and they vandalized school property. You know, yes, the Ministry of Education, of course, the rules are there, the laws are there. They went ahead. I mean, suspend child is prevented from writing his exam. You kind of truncated his educational goal in life. Yes, he's committed something that's very bad, but we should think of punishments that are how do I say it, that add value to life, that reforms you. Okay, so what about they weeding an area around the school in public, so that at least when public sees them, they'll feel shy, they'll not do that again. But to say that, hey, you are cancelled from writing it, you are going to create a situation where these children will be hardened and bitter against the society, you know. And when they some of them may even lose interest in school completely, they'll become hardened criminals. I mean, who suffers, who pays their bills at the prison? Okay, so we must learn how to the floor. Let him clean an area that has been rejected in the house, neglected in the house for a long time. Let him prepare a backyard garden. After that, he's learned something, how to clean. Okay, so it's not all about punishment that will scar you for life, that you always look at that scar and remember. No, it's about reformative punishment. It's about dialogue with your son. It's about you, the parent, investigating, retrospecting, find out what you made possible for this child to commit this sin. Let's say siblings have slept together, they have had intercourse. Then you now pause on them, you pour water on them, you slap them. No, as a parent, how often do you chat with them about sex education? Do you leave the TV on till 1 a.m. for them? What are they watching? Do they have phones to themselves at a very young age? Have you kind of putting parental controls on your TV? Is their phone an Android phone or it's a young phone, so that they don't have access to those sites? You have not put in those controls, but you are quick to punish. Then we will not get anywhere, doctor. So this is what I can say. Let's have more reformative punishments in our home.
This is a very important point.
Instead of corporal punishment.
Yes, so we are establishing the point that a lot of our boys are being damaged because of the kind of harsh discipline they may go through in some of the homes. Well, Trump, I can see you're back. Sorry about that technical hitch.
Yes, there was a problem. Yeah, was happening. I may need to take you back.
Sure.
Because I was trying to state that most of the social problems facing our youth presently is caused by fatherlessness. Because as parents, mothers have a role to play and fathers have a role to play. If for one reason or the other, I'm not talking about death of a father, I'm not talking about a father who is absent through divorce or separation. I'm talking about irresponsible fatherhood, whereby most children do not have fathers in their homes. It brings about a whole lot of psychological problems, which lead on to bringing about a lot of indiscipline. Most of our social problems, teenage pregnancy, drug abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse in our society, is caused by the phenomenon of fatherlessness. Maybe, Doc, I will send you, ask Phyllis to give you a copy of my book, and you will read it. Most children coming from such environment are facing rejection and abandonment. As you see young men walking about, most of them are suffering from rejection and abandonment, which leads on to fear. And fear is a canker in our society. But because it is a primary emotion, it is not easily explained. It cannot be seen. And so the person experiencing clinical fear will not even be able to accept it or own it. But many people carry scars of fear. But fear can be broken down into secondary emotions like anger. When you see a man or a woman living with anger, anger itself is not the behavior. The person is carrying some psychological fear, and it is manifesting in the form of anger. Any little thing that comes the person's way, the resentment and the bitterness from fatherlessness, because he goes to school and he sees people with fathers, people whose fathers come and pick them when school is closed, people whose fathers to come to school to watch them in their recitals, people whose fathers come to school to watch their football practice. He sees them, so it causes resentment in his mind, and it translates into anger, pure clinical anger. It also brings about low self-esteem. Low self-esteem. People think that low self-esteem only affects the person suffering from it. When a person has low self-esteem, he's angry at society. So if he goes out there, like the adage says, he who is down needs fear no fall. He is down, so he doesn't think about making anything right. It is as a result of the rejection and the abandonment that he's facing from lack of father. It is also about confusion. The child who is exhibiting fear as a result of lack of a father is confused because he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to act like a father, someone with a father. It is only his mother or other female people who take care of him. So he does not know anything about male figures. Again, it causes vulnerability. They become so vulnerable that they become shy and very timid. And when they are shy, they go to classes, they are not even able to talk. They are not even able to ask questions. So the world is blocked in front of them. And they carry this vulnerability in forms like shame, like doubt. They walk in the world filled with doubt. And like Mrs. Mahfouz told you, such people get into marriage and their partners are at the receiving end of it. The receiving end of the anger, confusion. They are at the receiving end of the shame and the doubt. They are the refusing end of worthlessness. They feel worthless. A person who feels abandoned and rejected feels worthless because he's so cautious in his life to the extent that he doesn't see any good in anything. So these are the people who go about doing psychopathology, like doing problems that affect society psychologically.
That's interesting, Dr. Trump. And it makes me feel that we all have a responsibility to every boy, not only in our lives, but every boy we meet. Some of us may be Sunday school teachers, some of us may be school teachers, some of them may be other caregivers. I wanted to tell us, how can we help every boy we come across?
I'm praying for the day that government will get up and bring a policy of fostering children in a structural way, of allowing people to adopt children, Over here in Africa, people adopt children and turn them into domestic helpers. Even if someone's sister dies and leaves her child with her sister, the child goes to the sister's house to be a house help, not to live there like the sister's own child. So there should be a policy that will allow such people without fathers to be adopted properly and have guidelines for them so that they can grow to be useful children in the society. All they need from their rejection and abandonment is love and care. We need to educate them. We need to educate them. If you adopt a child and you train the child well, he may be the best educated person in your family. So that is what I was about to say, and the technical issue came up. We need to foster fatherless children, and they will grow up as if they have fathers in their lives.
Wow. I'd like to find out, is it very important for us to help our children, especially our boys, manage their anger?
Yes, very important. We have several types of anger. We have active anger, which comes with aggression. We also have indirect anger, like the person is angry at you, but he won't show it, and he will direct it to another person. We also have active passive anger. The person is angry and he will get at you by, for example, you ask, oh, Essie, cook some rice for us. You go and burn it. Out of anger, she will burn it, and you will be at the brunt of the burnt rice. You see? And then we also have passive anger. There are people who have anger, but they will not show it. They will not do any action about it. So it is important for parents, teachers, and other educators to teach children to know that anger is a very, very dangerous behavior. Anger, to some extent, must be treated in counseling or psychotherapy, or they can even take medication, psychotropic medication, to reduce or prevent the anger. Some anger also comes from impulsivity. Someone who is impulsive can easily be angry because he wants things done without sense, and then because he couldn't do them, he becomes angry. So anger itself is as a result of an impulse control disorder, because he cannot control his impulses. So it is a disorder and must be treated as such. So it is important that...
I don't mean to cut you, but I want to talk about this impulsivity. That can it be as a result of poor upbringing as well? Because I read somewhere that men win their wives, but boys demand love from their wives.
Okay, it is both. It is both from their upbringing, and some are from their own psychological development.
Okay.
Some are also from the environment they are coming from. You see, impulse control disorder can be learned in the home, whereby if you have a child, you always give him what he wants. He says it and you give it. He says it and you give it. Even the impossible things, when he says it, you give it. When this child grows up, he's expecting the world to give him anything he wants.
A sense of entitlement.
Yes.
Exactly. That is what he has carried from his development. But again, I would not stop talking until I've made us go on to how children develop psychologically.
Please carry on.
I will just talk about just one or two of the stages. According to a psychologist called Eric Erikson, We start grooming a child. I agree with Mrs. Mouth. As soon as the child starts talking, you should start having conversations with him, showing him the world. But I will add that you start grooming the child from birth. Because a child must be groomed first psychologically. Sometimes you say this and people ask how? Because the psychology of the child is his soul. So, for example, the first stage of grooming a child should be from age 0 to 18 months. That is when the mother starts to give attachment and bonding to the child by giving the child breast milk, pampering the child, embracing the child when the child is crying, and making sure that everything is well for the child. If a child receives this activity in his life, he grows to have more self-confidence. Look at a child that is not given breast milk in his life and compare that child with another one who has been breastfed and so forth.
This one,
At
you're
this
preaching
stage,
a Ghana Health
these things
Service message about breastfeeding. It's a gold standard. Thank you very much. Please continue.
Yeah. It is at this stage that I identify two kinds of mothers. For example, mother one, the baby, maybe the baby is 2 days old, 3 days old, or 3 months old. As soon as mother gets up, he takes baby, cleans baby, give the baby a very good bath, pampers the baby, put powder on the baby, and then dries the baby and put diapers on, and gives the baby a lot of breast milk. And then the baby may even fall asleep at the breast of the mother. However, the mother will take her to bed. That is mother A. Will take her to bed, and mother will go to look for something to do or to look for something to eat. As soon as she leaves baby, baby starts crying, gang, 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 gang. And this is where mother A would rush to baby, pick the baby. Oh, my sweet baby, what is wrong with you? And it is at this time that he will check whether the diapers is wet or the child has soiled itself. He will change the diaper, wipe the baby, give the baby extra breast milk, and lullaby the baby to go to sleep. In the case of mother B, as for mother B, as soon as he puts baby down and baby starts to cry, what kind of baby is this? You are disturbing me. I've breastfed you and you are disturbing me. You don't want me to eat to get breast milk for you. You'll be shouting at baby. Some mothers, however, also will allow baby to continue crying and sleep crying. So, such a child has been brought up to have mistrust. When you say mistrust, they say, how does he know trust or mistrust? Mistrust of the world, because that is what it is introduced into his soul.
Wow.
And he will grow with it. He grows up to mistrust the world. And that is where fear comes in and produces shame and doubt.
That's interesting.
Okay, let me talk about
as young as that, because we think that babies are, I mean, they are just so small, they don't understand all these things. Are you saying that mistrust and adult showing mistrust starts from that age?
Yeah, they see it. They see it. They imbibe it. Doctor, listen.
Now, it's a case where in our society, we say that when you carry the baby too much, the baby will learn to be carried. So when the baby is crying, your mother will say, no, allow the baby.
That is wrong. That is totally wrong. You see, at that stage, the baby just came from the uterus. It is very warm in the uterus. And as it comes, it will take nothing less than 18 months for the baby to be acquainted to the environment. And if she is introduced into the environment that is very, very cold, the baby will get sick easily. You see? So Science has its own say, and then our traditional mothers and so forth would say otherwise. So the child that is carried by the mother is not carried 24 hours. At least the child needs to be put down to sleep. But the argument here is that as the baby is sleeping, when he wakes up to cry, that is the answer I'm giving you. If babies are so vulnerable to the extent that they cannot even sense being abused, I'm telling you that they are very, very active in seeing it, because their cries are a sign that they have seen what is going on.
Wow.
We adults, when we are maltreated and we become worried or we become saddened, what do? We cry. We cry. The baby cannot say that. Even you, when you are crying, you cannot talk. So in the same way, the baby cries to tell you that you are maltreating me. Sometimes you go to somebody's house, and if the person has a dog, the dog begins to bark at you. It is not because the dog is frightening you or what, because you are a stranger. And you have to identify yourself better before you are accepted into that house. It is the dog's way of communicating to you. So if he barks at you and you run away, he will chase you. In likewise manner, a child who is attended to during his cries grows up successfully and becomes developed, and he gains trust for human beings.
Wow.
The baby who doesn't receive that attention, the baby that doesn't get that, he grows up with low self-esteem and begins to mistrust the world. Go to our various counseling centers and psychiatric hospitals. You find them there, plenty of them. When they were babies, they were not given the attention they needed. Because that is the main food children need when they are between age 0 and age 18 months. The food they need is attention, warmth, care, love. It is because most babies are not given these various ingredients that they grow up and then they will face rejection. They feel rejection.
Wow. This is very interesting.
Let me talk about the second stage. I will add only one stage too. The second stage is between the age of 18 months to 3 years. That is when the mother is obliged to give potty training to the child. Potty training. That is the time you have to teach your child how to use potty. And it is not only about potty training, it is about self-maintenance. Self-maintenance. When you go to certain schools, you see certain boys and girls who are improperly dressed. They are unkempt and they don't find anything wrong with it. They didn't go through the appropriate self-maintenance training. You get it? So if they don't get this, what they live with is they live with shame and doubt. But if they are well potty trained and well self-maintenance trained, they live with autonomy. They can handle everything by themselves. They know what is good on them. So if you see a well-dressed person, the person has been well trained.
And it was started early.
Training wise. Exactly. At the age of between 3 years and then, between 18 months and 3 years.
Wow. Indeed, I think that you are bringing us very interesting revelations. When we talk about breastfeeding and bonding, and as health workers, we know that these are the things that we keep on hammering on. But now to actually go in depth to learn about how even it has a psychological impact on children. Now,
yes.
it's also significant to know that by the age of 3 years, they say that about almost 90% of a child's brain is already formed. So I think that agrees with the fact that a lot of the things start very, very early. They start forming very, very early.
Very, very early.
Unfortunately, we
Very
intervene
early.
a bit late because your child
Yes.
is now 6
And
years, 7 years, 8 years, and you're thinking about how this child can grow to be a man. And that's a bit late.
yeah. And then if we begin very late, that brings about late development in certain people. We are not all created the same, but if you are given these very late, you develop very late, and it will not be very, very good for the future growth of the child. Let me just add the next one, the third one, and then I will leave it for another time.
Okay, I'd like to, before you go on to the third one, I'd like to say that if we have any comments, any questions, let's kindly put them in the chat box. And after Dr. Trump speaks, I'll ask one more question about how fathers can help their boys develop emotionally. And Tete, also start preparing the answer for me. And then
Dr. Gazy, I have a next meeting to host in the next 5 minutes. So I'm hosting that meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, Dr. Gazy, I think we have to revisit this topic. We have to revisit it again.
Actually, my Happy Healthy Home team, they actually prompted me that we'll need a second session to really I'll wrap this up. So,
right.
Anteto, prepare yourself for the second session.
Sure.
Thank you very much. We are happy to have you. You can kindly take your leave.
Much.
Oh, thank you, Auntie. Thank you, Auntie Ethel. That was really brilliant.
Thank you, Auntie Ethel.
Thank you. So we'll see you again.
Yes, surely.
Okay, and have a good presentation. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Dr. Trump, kindly continue. This is very interesting.
So let me just do the third stage, and then I will leave the next 5 stages for our next meeting, if that is okay by you.
Sure.
Yeah, the third stage is from age 3 to 5 years, and that is basically about academic focus. 3 to 5 years, that is when the child should focus on academic work, his education. He learns math, and he learns reading. And that is the time the child begins to make friends. When he goes to school, even at kindergarten, at nursery, that is when the child starts to make friends. And when he's able to achieve this, when mom and dad provide this kind of things for the child gets initiative. Sometimes he comes from school and his concentration will not be on mom and dad, but rather he'll be thinking about his friends he has left in school. He goes to school and surprisingly, you will see that he has made friends among his classmates. That is the time a child would be able to know that there are good people and there are bad people. The academic focus time is for the child to learn things by himself, making choices by himself, coming home with homework and the rest, and mother trying to help him to do the homework. But at this early stage, his concentration is on making friends. Let's look at our children when they started school. You realize that when they come back home, they begin to call certain names. Josephine, Jemima. You wonder where all these names are coming from. He has started making friends at school, and it is helping him. If the child is not able to receive this step, he grows with guilt. He will be guilty because if he is not able to get it, he becomes a shy type. Why is he not interacting with other people? And he becomes a psychological problem. And it doesn't augur well for future relationship. The next stage is age 5 to 13 years. At this stage, the child learns social competence. You see, and it is important to note here that all these stages, if you don't get the positive one, you are owing it. You are owing it. And your development will be stunted until you receive that stage. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
We are with you. Can those who are not speaking kindly mute their phones? Maybe, or can you kindly mute your phone? Mrs. Ofori, kindly mute your phone as well. Thank you. Dr. Trump, you are telling us about
so
social
any
competency.
child that does not go through any of the stages I've stated owes that stage. He has to pay for it.
Wow.
Yes.
We take these
He
things
has
for
to pay
granted.
for
How
it.
is he going to pay for it?
You owe it. It means, one, you have mistrust. And with mistrust, you cannot go on in this world. You will be married and you will not trust your partner. You will be in this world and you don't trust the world that you are in itself. Two, you are living with shame and guilt because you did not go through the proper potty training and self-maintenance. And as you walk about, people will be whispering, this guy has bad breath. This guy, his armpit is smelling. This guy, this and that and that. You are owing it. You have to go through certain processes to pay for these things, to get your bad breath repaired. That is what I mean by you it. You have to pay for it, something that you should have been given right from the beginning of your life. Now you have to pay a professional to do it. Some of them need to come to counseling. Some of them have to see the doctor. Some of them have to go to the psychiatrist. Some of them have to go to a church for them to be intervened on. So if you miss any stage, you owe it. For example, the next stage is social competence. And social competence is about you being to comport yourself in society. You are competent in comporting yourself. You have good communication skills. You have emotional intelligence. You have good interactions with other people. All these are preparation towards your death. Because you will need to marry, start nurturing children, monitoring others. So all these things are very important. If you don't have social competence, do you see the advert of a young man? He went to the bar, chop bar, and then as soon as he came out of the chop bar, he started belching, and so on and so forth. He lacks social competence. You see, there are many people whom you encounter are disrespectful, rude, arrogant, and so on and so forth. They lack social competence. So if you have social competence, you will be able to be in the midst of people who will respect you. And that is when you form a friendship network. A friendship network. Trustful friends who believe in you. Who you can go to in case you need help. If you are able to go through,
this is very enlightening, and for the sake of time, I'd like you to save the rest of the information for a later day. But before
for next time,
yes, I mean quickly, I want to tell us, how do we build emotional intelligence in our boys? How do we do? What are some of the things we need to do at home to make them emotionally intelligent?
Yes, by showing them emotional intelligence in the house, by showing them empathy. You see, I stated earlier on that we will talk about this later on. Empathy, positive regard for the other person, is in itself emotional intelligence.
Okay.
If you are emotionally intelligent, it means you care for yourself and you know how to use yourself for positive things. And then, in addition to it, you also know the other person and what that person is experiencing. If the person understands it, and you are able to go to that person's aid if the need arises. You see, so you show this in the house. You teach. Your parents needs to teach you.
Okay.
Parents must teach their boys they must teach their boys emotional intelligence. Sometimes we want to make use only of our intelligent quotient, that is our IQ. In this modern world, the IQ is not needed to give you a job. What you need is emotional intelligence. You have to demonstrate that you care for yourself and care for the other person. That is what brings about productivity.
This is interesting.
So,
I'd like to, at this
yes.
point, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I'd like to, at this point, find out if we have, from our participants, anybody has any comments or questions that you haven't put in the chat box. But somebody has asked a question, which I think is very interesting. I lost the question, but I think it was about having an older child who's a girl and a younger child who's a boy. And I think she's asking, how can she still bring up the boy to understand leadership? Whoever asked the question, sorry if I'm not putting a word, you can unmute yourself and ask that question. And then somebody has also asked the name of your book again, the one that deals with fear, Dr. Trump.
Yeah, if you go to Google, you can go to, my book, you can go to Amazon. You can find it. It is also placed on the American Library of Too Scared of Tomorrow.
Too scared of tomorrow.
Scared. Too scared of tomorrow. Too afraid of tomorrow. Too scared of tomorrow.
Okay.
A clinical approach to understand fear. A clinical approach to understand fear.
Thank you. I'd like to find out if there are any questions, any comments. If you have any question or comment, you can unmute yourself and speak. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Linda Vanotu, who once upon a time was my regional director in the Western region.
That's right.
Dr. Vanotu, you're welcome. And I've seen so many of my colleague doctors on board. I acknowledge you especially. Back to the final issue, Dr. Trump, in the absence of comments and questions, I want to find out from you, what is your last word for us with respect to the theme, intentionally grooming our boys to become real men in need of the hour? What is the takeaway message for us?
Like I said, neurologically, men, the male person is placed in a way that he needs a lot of emotional support. Unlike men break down so easily when they have anxiety, so forth. So men need to be brought up and taught and groomed in ways that they will feel supported, accepted, and then lifted up. Again, as leaders designed to take care of our families and our society, they also need support to grow up and become real men. Without parents grooming boys to become real men, our society stands to lose a lot. So my last word is that parents must do their best to educate, train, teach, and provide support for their boys' children to become real men.
Nyamedi Ofori, please, can you kindly mute your mic? Thank you. Am I done?
Yes, please.
Okay, please, if you put a question in the chat box that hasn't been read, unmute yourself and read it. I lost all my chats. And the next meeting, God willing, will be next weekend, 5 p.m. Same Zoom details. we'll continue. And like I already said before, this is a series, is a run-up to a discussion we're going to have later on child sexual abuse. We want to find out how we should groom our boys in a way that they'll respect themselves, respect women, so that we can see men who do not, boys and men who respect girls and women. They are not into domestic violence. They are not into abusing sexually girls and women, and of course have a good sexual orientation as well. So this is a run-up to other discussions we'll have about also intentionally grooming girls. Okay, so I want us to have that in mind. But in summary, for those of us who joined late, this is what we talked about, that the real man is respectful, is humble, is confident, is not afraid to call for help or show vulnerability, and is a man of integrity. They said that this should be the goal. As soon as you deliver and it's a boy, you know that this is your responsibility to bring your boy this way, because your boy is supposed to be a role model in society, it's supposed to lead, it's supposed to take responsibility, it's supposed to be a person of honor in service, okay, and in courage and in action. And we've said that these things are transmitted from one generation to another generation. So if a boy is not well brought up, he's likely to carry on to his son, replicate it in his son will also replicate it into other sons, and it keeps on going. So at a point, some people must break that cycle in their family. And the thing that touched me was from Genesis 2:24, where the Trump said that the Bible says that therefore a man will leave his father and his mother. I said that it means that once you're a boy, you're supposed to be in your parents' home, being prepared. So when you become a man, you can now leave. Okay, so we cannot leave that preparation to chance. We cannot say it will just happen. We've heard so many things today about how we need to start dialoguing with the children. And importantly, we've been taught how to start grooming the child while the child is a baby from day one. Early initiation of breastfeeding, we say 30 minutes at least the baby should be put to the breast. And he's taught us about the psychological effect on the baby up to 18 years, that the child learns trust even from being carried. We need to take out the toxic things in our environment that says that don't carry your baby will learn to be carried. We are learning that is wrong, because maybe that's why a lot of us actually have trust problems, because we grow up later into marriage and we can't trust our spouses. And that alone is a struggle, because as soon as there's no trust, there's no self-esteem, you can't really connect with people, and we know that your network is your net worth. Okay, so these are issues that we need to really think about, and we've talked about the fact that men and boys are also emotional, so we don't have to take that thing away from them. We have to help them to grow up to first, if you identify their emotions, understand their emotions, and then deal with their emotions. Not about the emotions like anger, that if we are maltreating our boys, especially with corporal punishment, we are giving them harsh disciplines, what we are doing is actually that we are damaging their self-esteem. And I mean, what is a man without a self-esteem? Recently, I read somewhere that a woman was divorcing the husband because he doesn't quarrel with her, he doesn't assert himself, he agrees with everything that she says. And she said, look, I don't want this man in my life again. And in a way, I understand it, because that is not what a man is supposed to be. Okay, but this man is obviously a damaged man. We don't talk about fostering, that we need to think about every boy, whether the boy has a father figure, because fatherlessness is actually what is driving our society crazy now. All right, so having said all that and having summarized it, and in the absence of any further comments, nobody's commenting. Is anybody commenting? Anybody, unmute yourself and talk to us.
I am thinking about the point. Very interesting and so true. So I think most of us are digesting what has been heard.
Hello.
Yes, please go on.
I believe this is a very timely program for me. I've been struggling with my two boys, and I've taken a lot of information to help me groom them. Thankfully, they are not that old, so some of the mistakes that I've committed, I believe I can correct them in time. And I believe this is a timely information also because we are focusing more on the girls, and we are leaving our boys to just grow and without no guidance. So you see, even in school, you see a lot of the girls doing so well and the boys still coming down and down and down. Even though we are happy with girl child education, I think it's time to get interested in our boy child so that we can have a better man in the future. So thank you very much for all these wonderful information that you have given us. I hope to join next week to get more. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Any more comments, questions? Please don't be quiet. Talk to me. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the Ghana Education Service Director for the Sekendita Kwadi Metropolitan Authority, Reverend Mrs. Elizabeth Akwoko. Will you want to say hello to us and tell us something about boy child education? Mrs. Akwoko.
Hello, I'm here.
Yes, please. What are you saying about?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please. We can hear you. What are you saying about the fact that our boys are being left behind when it comes to education?
Hello. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello? Mrs. Akwoko, did you hear me? Okay. Can anybody comment whilst I try to get her back to tell us about the boy child education as well? Someone, or do you want to talk to us?
Yes, I would like to thank you very much for inviting me on board. And I would like to thank all those vessels that have been used today to bless us so much in this area of parenting. I thank God for that. What I would like to add is that from my own experience, I was not fortunate enough to have someone like a father to help my life because my father died at a very tender age. And also my mom had to, work to take care of three of us. So I have to stay with my grandma who did not, have much enthusiasm now of this kind of parenting things we are talking about. But what helped my life was that each time I have dream about God instructing me, I have dreams about issues with hell and heaven. I have dreams like, sometimes I have dreams like, because I was greedy, I was denied access to the presence of God and to heaven. And because of that, God said I should go to hell. So when I recall one day when I woke up from one of those dreams, I told my friends, look, anytime you ask me anything and I refuse to give you, just tell me that, look, remember that dream. You went to hell because you're greedy. What am I trying to say? We need to also pray for our children. We need to pray for this. Not everything that this kind of training can achieve. Sometimes, just as I have this kind of dream that God showed me mercy that I begin to go to the correct way, others too can have similar dreams that can let them go the negative way. So we need to pray for them also so that all these things that we are bringing on board can help them, because there is a man of lawlessness that is causing havoc, that is playing. You are young people, look, you can change your sex, you can do whatever you like, you can play with your organ, you can stimulate yourself and have orgasm is normal. I mean, these things are there and they are very forceful and they are very, very, very concerned about what we are doing. So I would like to add the area of prayer to whatever we are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Indeed, there's no perfect parent and there's no perfect son. Yes.
My microphone is muted.
Mrs. Akwoko.
Yes, hello.
Yes, please. Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, please. We would like to, as GS Director for STM, we are saying that the boys are being left behind. What is the plan for boy child education?
Thank you very much. And I should say that I've also enjoyed this program. It's been very, very informative and educative. And God bless all the speakers and God bless all the participants. I believe that we can make a difference, like you're saying, as they grow up. And I believe, I don't know, I'm going to look for that book, seriously look for that book and um, ask that everybody should get it. It will help all of us. Education service has not totally neglected boys. Even though we have a unit specifically for the girl child, for now we are coming in with a lot of interventions for the boys because we realize that, well, it looked like we had been concentrating so much on the girls. But now, for the past, I would say about 10 years, it's been shifting. So where we used to have, for example, we used to have science clinic for just girls. Now we've included the boys. And I know that that's been going on for some time. And in so many other areas, the only thing I believe that we're concentrating with the girls will be the menstrual hygiene day and all that one, all those ones. We have a girl child day and all that. But honestly, we realize that we really have to do a lot of work on our boys, and we are putting in all the effort, and we are encouraging the officers who are girl child officers to now cut across and not just concentrate on the girl child. And so we are trying to remedy that one. And we believe that it will get better and better as the years go by. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Akoko. We are happy to hear that the boys are not being left behind. Yes, Papa Yalforiata say that you love the first string part. Indeed, I'd like to find out is there any Sunday school teacher here or teacher? What do you think? How can we foster our boys and especially prevent them from being abused or sodomized? And that'll be my final question to all of us here. Anybody? How can we foster our boys away from the home? And especially, how can we protect them from being sodomized? Anybody, any ideas? Dr. Mrs. Adam Soko, what do you think? As a lady pastor with children in your church.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really happy to be listening to the speakers and to be hearing all that they are saying. For some of us, it's very revealing to us because we have had, I grew up in like a girl's home. So a lot of this is quite new and it's helpful for me so that I can learn these strategies that have been shared and these experiences so that I can be a better, parent to my boy child. I have one boy now. But what we are doing, what we do in church is to encourage the teachers and parents in the church to be very vigilant. Because like one of the speakers said, the boys are also emotional. And sometimes when they are going through certain challenges or they are being abused or somebody is introducing them to something they don't like or touching them, sometimes if you are observant, you can tell. You see that those who are very active suddenly become quiet and withdrawn, and sometimes also they have their moods change and they are not their usual selves. So we encourage parents and the teachers to always be observant. The way we know them when they come to church or when we are with them at home, if anything changes about how we know them, maybe the child is quiet or withdrawn or wants to be by himself, and things like that, you should know that something is going on. And you need to investigate it. You need to ask the child what is going on and get to the bottom of it. Don't take it for granted, because it may be early enough for you to salvage the situation. But if we just ignore it, that, it's just something petty or trivial, then we may miss out on an opportunity to either discover what is going wrong or to help them, in time. And so for now, these are just, some of the strategies we are using as a way of safeguarding the children in our care. When they come, we ask them what is going on in school, and they share some of their experiences with us, how their friends are behaving and what their friends think of them, what are some of the things people say about them in school or things. We just want to know what is going on in their lives and make them feel free enough to tell us what they are going through.
Okay.
And also know that there is help. There's somebody who has a listening ear. So that's what we do in the Sunday school, and in the youth fellowship and the other groups that we've divided the children into, so they can feel free. If they cannot speak to their parents at home, at least when they come to church, they should feel free to talk to us.
Thank you very
this
much.
is really very helpful.
Thank
and
you very
I'm
much.
glad I'm here listening. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, interesting, Dr. Vanotu. So you're also an advocate for male development. Okay. Next week, we'd like to have you on the show then, so that you can also add your voice to all that is going. Papa Yao Furata says that, or he also thinks that we should teach young men to learn to speak on their sexuality. So the import of this whole meeting is, everything that we are doing for the girl child, let's think about the boy child also. Let's not leave them behind. Let's protect them from abuse. Let's see that they are emotional. Let's put effort into their upbringing. Let's just not leave them. Okay, and also let's not go to the other extreme. In some homes, it's over pampering. The boy is like a king. I know a friend of mine who is an only boy, and his father will give him anything and everything, and will not do the same for the girls. And that does not augur well for him. Even knowing him alone, I think that mentality is being put into his head, and he's going to carry on with his children. He's going to neglect his girl children and pay more attention to the boy. But we've got to put all these things into a very good perspective and into a balanced perspective. Thank you very much for having you. Our time is fast spent. We will not take too much of your time, but we'd like you to drop your Gmail address into the chat box. If you'd like us to send you a copy, it'll be on YouTube later. But next week, please endeavor to be with us to have the second part of this conversation. And I believe that we'll tie it in with grooming the girl child also. What are we leaving out that makes the child vulnerable to sexual abuse? What are we leaving out? What are we not doing right? Dr. Tram, I think Dr. Tram is also dropped off the line. Thank you very much, Dr. Tram, and to Mrs. Etelmafo. Thank you very much to each one of you. God bless you, and have a good evening.
Quiet.
You can put on your video and say goodbye if you so wish.
Thank you very much.
Very informative. Yes, it was very informative. We'll join again next week.
Thank you very much.